Okay, we're live on air. Welcome everybody to the second in the series of Hangouts on Air from Resume to Employed, all about getting that all-important job. With me is today's Jim, one of the founders of Resume to Employed, and I'm going to pass over to him to talk about this. Over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you everyone for joining. Today I'm going to talk about a few different items. One, as a hiring manager for several Fortune 500 companies over the last 20 years, I'm going to share with you some of the common mistakes almost everyone makes when crafting a resume, and why hiring a professional resume writing service or an online resume writing service can help you present your value and get you more interviews. I mentioned values because I'm going to talk a lot about the common mistake that I've seen over 20 years of hiring people. People make in regards to not presenting their value correctly. So with that, next I want to just talk about selling your value and ask you to think about a few things. If you think about the fact that people don't buy what they don't value, that's a loaded statement, but it's so true. Think about the things that you buy, whether it's a home, a car, a product or service that you see on an infomercial on TV, or any of the things, even relatable to your spouse or your partner. There was something that you saw in that person that created enough value for you that you wanted to continue to either date and possibly even marry one day. So value is something that's often, and I see often missed when it comes to presenting yourself on a resume. I always say that your resume needs to do four things, and it needs to be able to do them quickly, because the average person reviewing your resume will look at it for about 6 seconds. So you've got, just like that infomercial that's on at 2 o'clock in the morning that you're watching, they have to do these four things very quickly. You have to be able to, one, grab the person's attention quickly. Think about the products again that you buy. Did they do this? Did they grab your attention quickly? Did they create curiosity? Did they overcome any obstacles that you might have had about not purchasing the product? And did it create a quick call to action? If you go back and now think about everything that you've bought, those things on TV, your car, your home, they had to do those things very quickly and create a quick call to action. Your resume is no differently. So what I like to tell people is, when you go in for an interview and you slap that piece of paper called a resume in front of somebody, think of yourself as presenting you as a product, not a person. Okay? So again, you have to capture their attention, you have to create curiosity, you have to overcome obstacles, and create a quick call to action. So doing these things is easy for me to say, but over the next few slides, I'm going to share with you how to do that and how to do that effectively. So part of it is really the first, think of your resume as a piece of property. So the property in regards to a home that you buy, they always say location, location, location. That's where you want to buy a property, right location. The right city, the right school district, the right environment. The same thing with either resume. You have valuable real estate, and usually a resume is usually 1 to 2 pages long, so you don't want to waste any of that real estate on something that is blank space. So the top third of your resume, the first third of your resume, is where my eyes go naturally as a hiring manager. So if my eyes go to the top third of your resume, there's no need in putting things that aren't selling your value. So think about things that probably are on the top of your resume today: your name, your address, your city, your LinkedIn ID, phone number. That's contact information. That's not selling your value. So use that first third of your resume, where the eyes go naturally, to write a professional summary statement about you. And when a lot of people put objections, or what is your objective for the job, everyone typically writes the same objective. I like to say that your summary statement should be professional. It should include your key achievements, and also tell a story. Paint a picture that people can relate to. Just like when I told you to create your value and doing those four things, your mind automatically went to some of the things that you purchased in the past. Did it create curiosity? Did it grab your attention? Did it overcome obstacles? And did there be a call to action? That's that story that you need to create in that top third of your resume. And also, you want to incorporate industry-specific keywords there, specific to the job that you're applying for, so they know it's not generic. The majority, I'll say 95% of the opening paragraphs or summary statements that I see on resumes are general. They're generalities. They could work for any type of job. You want to make sure that's specific to the job, includes the keywords specifically for that role that you're applying for. All right, go to the next slide. So just like if I'm going to sell you something or you're watching that infomercial, think of yourself as a product again. If I was to tell you that I have the greatest product in the world to sell you, you want to, and you're watching that infomercial at night, you want to see it backed up by claims that it's actually done something. That's why they give demonstrations when you go to a store and you see that mop that will clean your whole house in 5 minutes. They're going to demonstrate that for you. Same thing when you tell somebody about who you are, you have to demonstrate that you've done it and can do it. So you want to highlight your past employment, the training, the accreditations, and industry-specific accomplishments that you've had. It's important that most people lack accomplishments. Going back to my original statement, people don't buy what they don't value. People don't value responsibilities over accomplishments. So it's so important that your accomplishments are well listed as well as your responsibilities, but you can quantify them and they align to the previous work experience that you've had, so that you can show that you can bring that same value that you've had in prior companies and prior industries to the company that you're applying for. So with that, we'll go to the next slide. So how do you lay out your career history to sell your value? First of all, you want to provide a summary of the work that you've performed, and make sure that it's clear that the summary, you're speaking to somebody who knows your industry, and if there's specific jargon or things that you used prior in your prior role that might not be applicable to the role, that you eliminate those. You want to give 4 to 6 bullet points that highlight those accomplishments. It's important to have the accomplishments, again, versus the responsibilities. Quantifiable, be concrete, be descriptive, and quantify them whenever possible. Now, certainly not all your responsibilities or accomplishments can be, or your accomplishments can be quantifiable, but it's important that you try to quantify as many as possible, but also show the value that you've brought to that organization and what you can bring to theirs. If people value what you bring, they will hire you. If they don't, they'll pass on to the next person. You want to use action verbs, very important. People want to know the action that you've taken, not what somebody else did or what they didn't do, but more importantly, what action you took. And list your jobs in reverse chronological order with your most recent work experience first. We all have a history, a long history, and some shorter than others, but people like to know what you're doing today. And obviously, the reason why this chronological order is important, because they want to see, one, a progression in the steps that you've made. If you were a salesperson, were you so good at what you did, you became a sales manager, and then possibly you became a sales director, and maybe then a vice president, so they can see a logical chronological order of what you did. The reason that's important too is they want to see the types of jobs, and are they relatable? Is this somebody who bounced around from industry to industry, from different job types to different job types, have a diverse level of experience to bring to the organization, which can bring value? But some other people want to see that you've worked your way up within the same role, the same industry, and you're deserving because you presented your value the best to be able to take the next step in their organization and be able to bring that value. Again, most people give most weight as you're looking through a resume, and I've interviewed several, probably 350 people that I've hired over the years, and with that, I spend most of my time on the direct job that they've either had when they're interviewing with me, because I want to see their experience over a 10-year period I don't want to use it. I usually will never go longer than 10 years because it becomes irrelevant. If it's listed on a resume, I just kind of want to know what company and what they did, what the role. I don't need all the details. But I'm going to give the most weight, and the most critical part is the most recent job that you worked in your most recent experience. Some of us want to talk about the job that we like the most and spend the most time talking about that job that we had back in 1976 where we really thrived and progressed. That's not necessarily what a hiring manager, they want to know, just like most people, what have you done for me lately? And so they want to see what has that lately been, okay? And not all experiences need to be included, like I said, on the resume. You want to select the ones that are most relevant to the position that you're applying and seeking for. Think about it. They want to see that whatever you've done recently is going to be relevant to whatever need they have. Keep in mind, you wouldn't even be interviewing for the job or submitting your resume if the employer did not have a problem, a crisis, or a situation that they needed resolved, and they're looking for the best person to resolve that situation. If they didn't have a problem, they wouldn't be asking you to apply. So you need to present yourself and your value as being the person that can be the solution to the problem that that hiring employer has. So understand that the experiences that line up, you need to tell the story in a way that you're the right person to resolve the problem that they have because you presented yourself and the value you can bring on a resume. Because a resume is really just what I call a ticket to the dance. And you don't need to tell the whole story. You just need to be able to tell enough to get them to see value, enough to pick up the phone and give you a call and say, I want to bring he or she in for the interview. A lot of people feel like they need to tell the whole story in order to get the interview. It's not the case. Think about it. And in the movie industry, they produce trailers. When you go to a movie, you spend the first 15 to 20 minutes watching trailers. Why do you watch those trailers? Those producers of those movies are hoping to do four things: grab your attention, create curiosity, overcome any objections that you might have to not going and paying a ticket price to watch that movie, and create a call to action. It's no different whether you're a movie, a product, or a person. All these experiences that you're creating around your resume need to align to creating that value that you can bring. So let's go to the next slide. Formatting is critical. Again, hiring, probably seeing thousands of resumes. I've seen just as many different formats in regards to creating a resume. Now, formatting can be a challenge because there's probably, if you Google resume writers and resume samples, you will probably come up with hundreds of different flavors, styles, and formats. And some of them are good and some of them are bad. I'm going to teach you, and hopefully through this selling your value, you'll start to learn that really the format doesn't matter as much as bringing the value, but the format is important. It's actually critical. You have to have it well organized with an inviting balance. It has to be sections on your resume and headers that are specifically bolded so that they know that this section relates to this item so they don't have to guess. Constant margins throughout. Okay, either half inch or inch, make it consistent. The consistency is important. People look at how you write, and your consistency is how you're going to behave when you join the organization. Are you consistent? Do you do things the right way? And it's got to obviously be free of spelling errors. I can't tell you how many resumes that I've reviewed that have spelling errors, wrong tense, wrong ways of writing the words, incorrect words, and so it's always good to have 3 or 4 people review your resume and make sure that it is free of spelling errors, because that is critical. And it has to be a consistent appearance. I've seen several resumes where I can tell that they cut and pasted different styles and processes from several different types of resumes, so make sure that it is a consistent appearance throughout your resume, and the flow creates that value of consistency. Obviously, mentioned before, real estate is important. You need to use the proper use of white space. Too much is bad, too little is bad, but there needs to be the proper use. You don't want too much. You've only got a page or 2 pages to articulate your value. Use that white space critical just as much as in the formatting of your resume. The very top third of your resume, what we called your selling zone previously, that's a critical place not to have too much white space. Okay, and it does not have to have references upon request at the bottom of the resume. I see this quite frequently. Believe me, if they want to hire you and you're selling a product, I wouldn't sell you a product and bring a flyer if I was selling you a printer or a car and have on the bottom of the invoice references upon request. Smart business people, business owners, good HR people know that if they want, it almost goes without saying, if I could say. They know if they need references, they can get that, but it does not have to have that. And use powerful verbs and industry-related keywords. Talking about resumes today, but I can also tell you that most people, the number one reason people don't get the job besides not selling their value is they don't do the proper research in the company, in the industry. And so it's important to use industry-related keywords, not only for the applicant tracking system. The tracking system has loaded keywords specifically to industry. They're looking for those words to be in your resume. They're looking to be proper use of those words and also a proper context as it relates to your responsibilities, and it also relates to the industry. So use those proper verbs and industry-related keywords, and it also, for your sake, it helps know that person reviewing your resume on the other side of the desk know that you're not just vaguely applying to every job that's out there, that you're targeting specifically the role, specifically the company, specifically the title that they have available, and that you're bringing that value in. So it's important to have those industry-related keywords. And stay clear. The last thing I'll tell you on this slide is be careful with abbreviations. Unless, as it says here, it's spelled out first. I've worked in several companies where we abbreviate. There's tons of acronyms, and we assume that everybody else knows what they mean. The reality is they might, but they might not. So you never want to take that risk of using too many abbreviations or acronyms that people might not be able to relate back to your value. Okay, so the next slide. So the last 8 slides here is really, in relation to selling your value, your overall presence is important. Because you look at a resume kind of holistically in that 6 to 12 seconds that you have originally. So I just want to reiterate a few things here in the overall presence. That when you look at all these different things, being well organized, proper sections are bolded, consistent margin, free of spelling errors, consistency amongst the resume, proper use of white space. These might all seem relatively easy and basic, but I can tell you a lot of people go back and look at these, and when I look at resumes, very few resumes has this overall consistency with the presence. So I hope what you'll find here, excuse me, with a lot of the information I presented, is a resume needs to sell your value. I'll go back to what I said before. Unless you are specifically trained to do something, which most people aren't. I go get my hair cut by somebody because I don't know how to cut my hair. I wouldn't want to cut my hair. I don't think it would look good. I don't paint my own house because I'm not a painter. I've never took a mechanics course, so I don't know how to fix my car. I've never even changed the oil. When I do, I take it to Jiffy Lube or my mechanic, and I have them do it for me. I don't cut my hair because I can't do a good job, because I'm not specifically trained. Each and every one of you listening to this are specifically trained in one area, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an accountant, whether you're a mechanic, whether you're a hairstylist. I can go down the list of thousands of different occupations in which you are specifically trained to be able to do that job, or you wouldn't be doing it. The same thing with your resume. I caution people not to try to do something in which they're not specifically trained on how to do it. Most of the time you can do a good job, but I'm afraid in this environment, with the unemployment rate the way it is, and hundreds and sometimes thousands of people applying for the same job that you're applying for, good is no longer good enough. You have to stand out from the crowd. You have to present excellence in your presence. So as you sell that value, and if you're not specifically trained to do a resume, which not too many people have gone to resume writing school, that's why you want to look towards folks like Resume to Hire and to help you to be able to sell your value and to be able to, more importantly, sell it with excellence. So in closing, if you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow and to be able to land more interviews, because at the end of the day, your resume is just a ticket to the dance. It's just that ticket to get in the door, because once you get in the resume, once you get in the door for the interview, that's the next step. If you want to learn more, obviously visit us at Resume to Employ, or you can click on the link below. And thanks for hanging out. You can learn more about what we could offer. And I wish you the best in your job search. And I hope you found this this time helpful. Thank you, Robin.
Good. Thanks, Jim. Well, thanks, everybody, for being with us. And we'll catch you on the next Resume to Employed Hangout on Air.